Welcome to our program. Hello, I'm your host, Ron Whitlaw, coming to you from the La Posada Hotel, Laredo, Texas, United States of America, just across from Los Dos Laredos, sister city of Nuevo Laredo, Tamaulipas, Mexico. The guest on the program, Gene Belmares, Republican Mayor Pro Tem, City of Laredo, Texas, USA. Welcome to the program, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you for
We're
having
going
me.
to be talking about the river wall that's proposed by the Department of Homeland Security. Border wall going to be walling off University of Texas campuses, all other kinds of farmland, all other kinds of facilities, you name it. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem and the Homeland Security Department is planning on building this wall on the near term. We want to talk to you somewhat about that during this program. Also, you're going to be hearing from him his attitude, his opinions as a Republican Latino for South Texas. Been that a long period of time after leaving the Democrat Party, I assume?
Nope, never voted in the Republican.
Never voted in the Democrat Party. You heard it first on the program. We're going to explain to you why he's concerned about the Republican Party's future, because it seems to be abandoning its hand out, so to speak, that President Bush has held out to the Latino voter over time, getting them into the party, and now they seem to be abandoning it. And dealing with that issue, what is happening within your party that is showing you so much concern on the part of its future? Because many tell us they don't think somebody can get elected in Texas, especially if they don't have the Latino or Mexican-American vote.
Well, I agree. I think that the Latino population is continuing to grow. I think it's going to continue in its involvement in politics. I think it is a very dynamic group of citizens that really take its civil duties strongly and don't take it lightly at all. I think they're going to continue to vote in all the elections you see coming. And I think that without the Latino vote in the future, certainly in Texas, California, Arizona, New Mexico, border states, I don't think you'll be able to get elected in the future if you don't have a significant portion of the Latino vote on your side.
Now, Latinos at this point are voting predominantly Democrat, but they have been leaning and moving more and more and more toward the Republican Party, being the #1 voting minority group now nationally, taking over where the African American used to be. African American supposedly votes about 90% to the Democrat Party. That's been traditional and historic, and has been a good part of the election cycles which have put Democrats in the White House. Your opinion is, what's your party going to do if it does not continue to go back to bringing the Hispanic voter into the party?
Well, certainly.
Is it show of decades of failure if it doesn't do this?
I think so. I think ultimately that's exactly what it's going to show. The Republican Party has to understand that the Latino voter is an independent voter for the most part. They don't follow the old credos that said you had to vote this way because your daddy was a Democrat or because our family's been a Democrat. Latinos tend to be very independent. We tend to do a lot of our homework and go into these elections knowing the candidates very, very well. Secondly, the Latinos' values, be they fiscal values, be they social values, tend to run closer to the Republican Party than they do the Democrat Party.
Name some of those for us.
Take a look at the Latinos, predominantly Catholic. Catholics go very, very strong in the anti-abortion, very, very strong in family values, very, very strong in fiscal conservatism. We tend to take care of our own. We are not ones that like to participate in the welfare system. We love to take care of our own family members. My father lived with us until he passed away in 2000. We want to be very, very united in the way we take care of our own and our family. That's our culture. It's our nature.
Part of your pride of being a son.
Absolutely.
Grandson.
A grandson, and a semi-first generation American, because my mother was born in Mexico. And so knowing that culture and the politics of Mexico, I certainly understand how our culture has attempted to move away and migrate away from the type of government that wants to give you everything. We've begun to understand that government that can give you everything has the power to take everything you've got as well. We want to work for a living. We want to earn. We're very proud. Latinos. Latinos are a very proud culture, and certainly, if you look at what the Republican Party has done in Texas, with the appointments of folks like Tony Garza, Albert Gonzalez, all those folks.
Buddy Garcia.
Buddy Garcia. And just recently Amadeo Saenz, who is from this region, this area, South Texas, who is now the executive director for TxDOT. I think those are the types of things Republicans have done to reach out to the Latino population and say, you matter, your voice counts. But going forward, they'll need to do more of that. They'll need to come into us and say, folks, we want to hear you. We want your voice as well as your vote. When I attended the Republican Party convention in State Convention 2000, that wasn't the message I heard. I heard, we want your vote, but we don't want your voice. Just pull that lever just like you did for the Democrats years and years ago, pull it for us. Well, no, it's not how it works. The Republican Latino wants to be engaged in policy, wants to be engaged in the decisions, because ultimately we are going to be the majority minority in this country, as we are beginning to be.
So the Latino vote in Texas in particular, traditionally known for being the group of individuals, the voting bloc that vote La Palanca, expected to vote to pull the lever, straight Democrat ticket. Now that your party, the Republican Party, is seeking the Latino vote, Latino involvement, they're expecting your culture and your people to do the same thing they've done for the Democrat Party, and that means vote the Republican Palanca, straight Republican ticket, and...
That does not happen. It's not going to work that way. We're going to be looking at all the candidates. You know, while I've never participated in the Democrat Party, I've certainly voted for Democrat candidates. There are good candidates out there. Our own legislative delegation from Laredo, Henry Cuellar, Senator Zaffarini in the state, and Representative Richard Raymond, all Democrats, all good friends of mine, all articulating a good, strong conservative message, no matter where they are, even though they are in the Democrat Party. Their values are much more aligned with us as Republicans than they are with their own party as Democrats.
So you vote for them and you have supported them in the past, even though a Republican.
Even though I'm Republican.
So now, in the old days, they would be like a Conley Democrat as opposed to a Yarborough Democrat.
Absolutely.
That's the way the party was split up.
You bet.
Decades ago.
Decades ago, absolutely. And I think what you're seeing now from Latino Republicans is that very same idea that we're going to study the candidates. And we're not necessarily going to go with the flow. If you look at the last election, look at how many Latinos actually voted for George Bush. He did very, very, very well amongst Latinos, because we see the candidates for their values, for what they represent, much more than we see them for what the party represents. And so the party needs to reach out to the Latinos. It needs to articulate to them that message. Hey, our values run much closer to your values than those of the Democrats. However, we as candidates, as individual candidates, care about your voice. We want to hear what you have to say, and we're going to get you all involved in the process, because I think that's ultimately what needs to happen. I don't think it's going to be one of these things where you come around every 4 years, you ask us to pull the lever. That's not how it's going to work. The Latino wants to be involved from the get-go. They want to see more appointments of folks like Tony Garza and Hope Andrade and Amadeo Saenz and Alberto Gonzalez. They want to see more of those folks involved at that level of politics. And certainly, my community has saw fit to elect a Republican city council member. Although our elections are not partisan, they had no problems electing with someone who cares for the community, who's willing to do the work required of by this community to take it forward. And they're going to look at the candidates long before they look at the party.
Being a Republican city council member, Mayor Pro Tem, City of Laredo, how do the other council members, knowing you're a Republican, deal with you differently, or if at all?
Not at all, because our elections are nonpartisan. And so we look out for the best interest of the city. Long before I joined the Republican Party, I was a Laredoan. So Laredo is my first priority. Laredo will always be my first priority, doing what's right for this community. Now, if what the party is espousing benefits my community, I'm certainly going to support it. But if it's not, then my community has to come first. My people have to come first. And then I'll take a position that's contrary to the party. And I have in the past. And certainly this issue of a border wall that Tom Tancredo keeps talking about, separating a sister city that we have had a long-standing relationship with.
Almost 300 years.
Almost 300 years is just ludicrous. And here's an individual who doesn't understand this binational culture that we have on the border. And if he wants to talk about immigration, and that's one subject, and then he needs to talk about Homeland Security as another subject, but he cannot, if he wants to talk about it as all one inclusive topic, it doesn't work that way.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, you're opposed to the border river wall. Why?
If you look at the topography, if you look at the rise, the ebb and flow of the Rio Grande, a fence will not work. Why not use the God-given barrier that already exists and make it work in your favor? Well, we're going to try to go back and bring it into what we think it is. It should be a river wall. It should be something that is an amenity to the community, creates economic development, and accomplishes the same thing, which is, you know, a deterrent. But you deter it with a number of people that are down here shopping, doing the things that downtown riverfront developments have done across this country, whether it be Indianapolis or Cincinnati. Certainly doing it on an international river brings in another flavor, another aspect of our culture to it, but it does everything Homeland Security wants it to do, but it doesn't necessarily divide the countries, it unites us.
And you're referring to the River Vega project, which
That's
is
correct.
a master plan for your community to have actual economic development between Los Dos Laredos,
Correct.
Nuevo Laredo, Mexico, and Laredo, Texas, USA.
That's correct.
So you're wanting to get some of the Homeland Security money for the river wall, the border wall to be built along the Rio Grande adjacent to the natural barrier of the Rio Grande River, and use those funds to accomplish what?
Bringing down a density of population, people coming down and enjoying the riverfront, redevelop the entire River Vega between the two bridges where the border wall was scheduled to go up, and put up a river wall, one that takes the river and complements it, creates an amenity for tourism and trade and economic development and retail development down on the riverbanks, and at the same time allows for this deterrent that they're looking for. To put up a wall that divides us is not the answer. This is something that will unite the two countries, the two nations, a sister country and a sister city that we've had a long-standing relationship with. So many of our relatives still live there, so many of our friends still work and live there and come to this country. They shop, they spend their money, they participate in our economy. Certainly something we don't want to see end.
Rivers across the United States, whether it be St. Louis, whether it be the Potomac River, whether it be San Antonio, other rivers in the nation are used to unite two states, to unite two peoples on either side. And the Department of Homeland Security now wanting to create the river wall to divide these two peoples, these nations, and the families who live on both sides.
That's right. And
your objection to that is what?
My objection is it's where they want to place it. We understand that this is a porous border, just as much as the one on the Canadian border is porous. In fact, I would argue that the Canadian border is far more porous than the southern border is. The troop strength, border patrolmen, customs agents, DEA agents, FBI agents, sheriffs, police departments that man the southern border of Texas is far greater than the number of those that man the Canadian border. And so I think we have a greater troop strength down here than they do on the Canadian border. I think we have a better plan in South Texas than they do to protect the northern borders. But in this particular stretch of the river, between the bridges of the city of Laredo, where you have a vibrant economy, a vibrant culture, a vibrant downtown area, this is a great opportunity.
13,000 trucks coming across every day.
20,000
back and forth.
20,000 pedestrians coming back and forth every day. You have what my former mayor, Mayor Betty Flores, used to say is, all our MSA is not all in the USA. Our metropolitan statistical area includes Nuevo Laredo. That's a part of our economy. It's part of our commerce that we have here. Our families are linked inextricably to those folks over there in Mexico. We need to have them here. Building this project, the River Vega master plan that we have, this project along the River Vega allows us to take those Homeland Security dollars, create economic development, and at the same time create the type of deterrent they're looking for. Yes, do I think that there should be a border wall some places? Maybe so. California, Arizona, maybe, maybe not. But
even
certainly,
though they're shown to be ineffective with
they're
people
completely
climbing
ineffective.
over those
Absolutely.
walls, tunneling under those walls.
Absolutely. But northern border, you know, has anybody considered that a border fence for them? At the end of the day,
Why not have a border fence here and not one in Canada? Because they don't want to come here and take away union jobs.
oh, the argument's been that, well, you know, the Canadians have national.
You agree with that? Disagree?
No, I disagree with that. I mean, ultimately, the job that is currently in Mexico is feeding jobs in the United States. If you look at the maquiladora industry, which is the twin plant industry, it allows for manufacturing,
One plant in the U.S., one plant
or
in the United
assembly
States.
in Mexico, one in the United States. that whole industry feeds jobs in Nebraska, in Mississippi, in Alabama, in Tennessee, in assembly plants for motor vehicles.
And keeps those jobs being lost to the Far East, that's your point?
That's correct, absolutely. And so maybe you don't keep all the jobs in the United States, but you don't lose all the jobs to the Far East, to China or to Malaysia or some other place. Certainly, we need to consider our partners to the south, our largest trading partner in North America, Mexico, and consider them an ally, not someone who would harm us. We will continue to do business with them. We'll continue to find ways to make commerce easier, but we need to separate these two issues of immigration and homeland security. And there are some homeland security issues and initiatives we need to take, and we do need to follow through on. But this immigration issue is another challenge, and that one's going to require greater dialogue amongst both parties, amongst the people of the border, to come up with a comprehensive immigration policy that works. Especially right now in a booming economy, as the Texas and American economy continue to grow, you're going to need labor. It's going to have a labor shortage. Economists have traditionally said that 3% unemployment is full employment. I think in today's digital society, in today's global competitive market, 5% is probably closer to that. We're now having to go to the Far East and to Europe for engineers and scientists, and of course Mexico is providing us a lot of labor for the fields and for those manual labor jobs that no one else wants. Laredo, Texas, who has for the longest had double-digit unemployment, today is enjoying less than 5% unemployment. 4.8 was our last statistic that was given to us a week ago.
And that's in the last 10 years that the economic rates have changed. Unemployment's gone from 15% down to almost what the nation's unemployment rate is.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so, in my opinion, everyone who wants a job and can hold a job has a job.
So Laredo's an employment magnet for the United States?
I think it is. Right now, it certainly is. We're a growing
People
economy.
now coming, where the days you were growing up, they were all leaving.
That's right. And there was such a brain drain. A lot of our young, the best and the brightest of our community were going out and studying at the universities and staying wherever they studied. The Austin, Texas, the Houston, Texas, the Dallas, Texas of the world. They were going beyond our borders into New York and other places. They'd get their education there, they'd stay. And now you're seeing so many of our kids stay here. I think TAMU has a lot to do with that. Our community college, Laredo Community College, has a lot to do with that. But I think this vibrant economy that the city of Laredo has built over the last 10 years with NAFTA, with our trading partner Mexico, I think is creating the opportunities that our young people need.
As mayor, while many communities in the region of South Texas have always looked at trying to be competitive with their neighbor down the street, their community down the road, community down the river, as it relates to trying to get a plant, as it relates to getting a new, some kind of economic infrastructure located in their town, your community is taking the approach that if it comes to your community, it'll benefit the region, and regionalization is the idea and the concept that needs to be promoted, looked at, and encouraged. Why do you have that opinion, and what's it all about?
Well, I think it's an ongoing debate. I don't think that the community has come to that conclusion just yet, but I think that this is the direction we're heading, certainly the direction I want to head. When you look at the consumer's wants, he does not care whether the city councils of McAllen and Laredo, the cities of Laredo, McAllen, and San Antonio are all in competition. At the end of the day, he wants his goods. He wants them now. He wants them cheap. And he doesn't want to have the burden of having it wait out there forever. And so he's going to look, like water does, for the path of least resistance. And so when we talk about this regional concept, we're talking about increasing the capacity of the entire region. Now, does that mean that there could be a negative impact to Laredo if McAllen got this leg of the Trans-Texas Corridor 69 or I-69? Does it mean that if San Antonio got a little more business from the rail district out in Columbia, shot straight towards it, that we might not lose a little bit of our business in the short? Absolutely. But in the long term, the consumer, the companies that are building these products and shipping these products from the Pacific Rim or from the Midwest into Mexico or out of Mexico into the rest of our country are looking for capacity. They're looking for the ability to move their goods through an area as fast as they can, as cheaply as they can. And so long term, you've got to realize it's all got to cross our bridges. We're going to make money at this. We're going to be successful at this because I think we're improving our infrastructure constantly, adding bridges, adding lanes, adding technology. That increases that capacity and the speed at which that capacity can move its goods and services
So
through.
your point is having Toyota in San Antonio should benefit the entire region of South Texas and northern Mexico.
Absolutely. We're going to have some collateral effect in Laredo, Texas from that. We're going to have service companies that will set up in this area, in this region, to service Toyota that may not find San Antonio as attractive, but certainly find Laredo attractive. There's going to be an increase in traffic from components being assembled in Mexico or parts that are needed from other parts of the world that come through this port. When Lázaro Cárdenas comes online in the next 5 years, and the amount of which is the deep water port that's in the state of Michoacán in Mexico, that is now competing with Long Beach. When that comes online, the amount of volume of traffic that will come through this port and McAllen and Brownsville and all the areas in this region is going to be huge. Now, do we want a larger part of that pie? Absolutely we do. But you have to realize that the more people look at this region, not just Laredo, not just McAllen, not just San Antonio, but Corpus, Houston, all these components that allow for goods and services to pass through here, then concepts like the Trans-Texas Corridor 35, Trans-Texas Corridor 69, which also has an offshoot that goes into Corpus Christi, into the new port that they're working on, or the Port of Houston, I think benefit Laredo, benefit the region as a whole.
But in reality, when Lázaro Cárdenas would be completed, if Laredo got all the rail traffic, it would be over capacity and would be gridlock. So all of that traffic must be shared.
The negative side of that would the traffic could easily move to Eagle Pass or McAllen. But if we could, conceivably, between all of us, handle that volume, knowing full well that Laredo, because of its geography and its infrastructure, is going to get the lion's share of that. Should we be in competition with McAllen? Should we be in competition with San Antonio? I don't think so. I think we ought to be in partnership. And I think we ought to figure out ways to create this capacity through Laredo that services McAllen, services Corpus, San Antonio, and makes Laredo and the region, border region, the hub. Whether it be from Eagle Pass and Del Rio all the way down to Brownsville, or whether it goes all the way up to San Antonio or Houston, no matter. I think looking at this region, as companies look at this area, the capacity and the speed and the technology and infrastructure that's here benefits everyone.
We want to let you know that the La Posada Hotel has been our headquarters for the last few days for the program. We've had a great time. We want to let you know also that our guest on the program, Mr. Belmares, is the Director of Marketing and Sales for the La Posada Hotel. The La Posada Hotel has been noted as the best hotel by TxDOT and by the Texas Travel Industry Association, and also their restaurant, the El Tesoro Club, has received the Best Dinner Designation award for this region of the state of Texas. Congratulations.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Congratulations on your service to your community, because public service is very important, Mr. Belmares, as you know. A Republican Mayor Pro Tem, City of Laredo, thank you for being us on the program.
Pleasure, thank you for having me.
Hope you'll join us again in the future. Thank you for joining us. Till next time, adios.